My name is Phillip Kinney, and I selected A.G. Gaston as the topic of my research paper. Now, why did I select A.G. Gaston as the topic of my paper? Well, in looking through the suggested topics, I saw a lot of war heroes, lots of scientists, but I have a personal interest in business, so I wanted to write about someone who was a significant figure in business in American history. Now, what makes A.G. Gaston a significant figure in American history? Well, this was because of his broad influence. We see he was not only a noted person in business, but he was also a noted philanthropist, as well as he played a role in the civil rights movement. Now, A.G. Gaston is certainly not the first name you think of when you hear business. Usually you'll think of a Bob Johnson, a Russell Simmons, a Damon John. When it comes to the civil rights movement, he's not the first name you think of. You think of Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks. When it comes to philanthropy, he's not the first name you think of. You think of maybe Oprah as being a large name when it comes to philanthropy. And this is sad because A.G. Gaston is a significant player in each of these areas. And I'm going to take just a few moments here to discuss how. But let's first talk a little bit about his early childhood. Now, A.G. Gaston was born on July 4th, 1982 in Demopolis, Alabama, to Tom and Rosa McDonald. But he was actually raised by his grandparents who were former slaves. Now, being born in 1892, that means he was born about roughly 30 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed. Now, did this mean that he was born into some sort of utopia that was free of racism and discrimination? Well, no. Unfortunately, he was not. We see that the town that he lived in actually had a public square where the remains of blacks who had been lynched were left as a reminder to other blacks, of their place. And he would have to walk past this on a daily basis. And this no doubt shaped his decision to support the civil rights movement. Now, within the civil rights movement, A.G. Gaston was not one of the people that was involved in the marches and the protests and the sit-ins. He was more into attempting to sit down with leaders on the other side and with the whites and to negotiate and come up with civil rights agreements. And for this, many blacks called him an Uncle Tom. They felt that he wasn't, quite radical or quite militant enough. But we see that his efforts did pay off in the end. And notably, he paid a $160,000 bail for Martin Luther King during one of Martin Luther King's most well-known jail stays, the one during which he wrote the letters from the Birmingham jail. Now, Gaston was also a noted philanthropist. He was deeply involved in helping young people to become successful. To this end, he founded the Boys and Girls Club in Birmingham, Alabama. And he is widely known for his business accomplishments. This is what he is most widely known for. And he started in business as a young child. Now, you may ask, what kind of business did a young child have? Did he have, when he was, maybe 5 or 6 years old? Well, he would actually sell rides on a tree swing to his neighbors. And so they'd be in the backyard of his grandparents' home, and he would sell the kids in the neighborhood rides on the tree swing. Now, as a young adult, he spent time working for a coal company. But during this time, he was very smart with his money. He would actually save his earnings, unlike his co-workers, who were spending their money, taking women out to dinner and blowing their income. So, with his savings, he would use that money to lend to his coworkers who were out blowing their money. So he sort of had his own savings and loan bank going on there. And he actually charged them a pretty hefty interest rate of 25% on the money he loaned them. He would also sell his lunches. Now, his mother was known as a phenomenal cook in the area. So, at the coal company, he would sell his lunches to his co-workers and make money that way. Now, also during this stint at the coal company, he noticed a need. And this need actually became the mainstay of his business successes and ventures. Gaston noticed that there was a need in the black community for a way for blacks to have decent funerals. So he started a funeral society. And how this worked is people would pay 25 cents each week and pay it into the society. And when they died, then there would be funds there available for their funeral to be paid for. It was almost like a funeral insurance of sorts. But this venture almost failed off the bat. When a few weeks in, when he only had about $10 into the kitty, someone within the society died, and the funeral cost him was to cost $100. So what did he do? Was he going to give up and let his business fail? Well, no. With some quick thinking and ingenuity, he reached out to a local funeral director, and he teamed up with the funeral director to get the funeral paid for, and he agreed to make installment payments back to the funeral director so he could keep his society going. But something pivotal happened at this funeral, though. During the service, the preacher there said that everyone in town needed to have this funeral insurance, and the rest is history from there. It's notable, though, that Gaston was not just a funeral mogul. He also started banks, real estate agencies, insurance companies, and even other businesses. And at the time of his death in 1996, at the age of 103, he had an estimated net worth of $135 million. So now, in just this short time, we were barely able to tip the iceberg of the successes of the life of A.G. Gaston. Yet we're able to see that he certainly lived a life of not only success, but also of principle. I found it very interesting that he didn't spend his life chasing dollar signs. He lived his business life by a very simple principle. He said, if you see a need, you fill it. So now, as we reflect on the life of A.G. Gaston, it can be said without a doubt that he is one of the greatest unsung heroes in American history. Thank you.